Live streams. Live streams are always fun right in the beginning because you never know when they're actually going to pick up. Super fun. Okay, the BC NDP has changed things yet again. I don't know what to say here. I really don't know what to say. I guess I should be happy. I guess I should be happy that they've backtracked. But I really don't know if I am happy that they've backtracked. So we're going to get into exactly what was done, what was changed, so you can better understand what was done and changed and how everything works. Because it's going to be extremely confusing. The way they've done things is given who's moving into the property now for owner occupancy use, depending on who's moving in, they have now different notices, which is extremely confusing for everybody. So as every live stream, as I wait for people to come in, feel free to ask questions. If you're joining us back and you watch this after the live stream, please feel free to type questions in. I'll try and come back and answer them as best I possibly can. Of course, I'm Steve. I sell real estate here in Surrey, BC, across the Fraser Valley, most of the Lower Mainland, not all of the Lower Mainland. So subscribe to the channel if you'd like to stay up to date on the marketplace. Please go ahead and click the like button because that really helps me. Helps me a ton. Get this information out to more people. And my goodness, with this whole eviction thing that's gone on, it's kind of crazy. It's just not great. It's really, really not great. It's changed so many times. I put out a video that said, hey, there's no way they're going to change this. It would be absolute insanity to change this. And then they changed it. They changed it from 2 months notice to 4 months notice. And then as soon as everybody in the world ranted about that, seemingly quietly, they changed part of it back, but not all of it back. So I guess we should kind of explain this a little bit here. If you're serving notice to your tenants, you have to give them previously 60 days notice. So if shooting this August 16th, live stream August 16th, you would have to serve notice today. It would be effective, say, on the 1st of the month. Then September would be the notice period. October would also be the notice period. They'd have to be out by November 1st, and you would have to give them October free. What was changed was that was changed till 4 months. When it went to 4 months, that now means that anybody serving notice today, a buyer or an owner-occupier, couldn't move in till January 1st. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane that you would do that. But then, right as before I went on vacation, the BC NDP put out a notification, and believe it or not, I did not get hit with the news. I did not get hit with a government bulletin. It was our managing broker who brought this to our attention because it was kind of, again, nicely swept under the rug. Because now they've changed things. Now they've changed it where depending who moves into the property, they've actually realized that if they do 4 months notice, they grenade the real estate market. So they have done this change now to not grenade the real estate market and bring prices down as fast as it would have. It would have caused absolute mayhem. And the reason is if you're securing financing for a property as a first-time buyer, if you're using CMHC, realistically any bank at all, is only going to secure your financing, usually for a maximum of 120 days. I think BMO, maybe RBC will do 130 days, but still not within the time period if you were buying a property today. So if you think about that, it's really, if they kept this in place, you would have first-time buyers that if they were buying a property, or any buyer, would take massive risk if they're buying a tenanted property because they might not qualify for their new rate. Now they say, okay, doesn't matter because rates are coming down. Yeah, but when rates go the other way, you grenade the entire marketplace. So what have they done now? The government has come out and said, that in the event that someone is selling their tenanted property and the buyer intends to occupy, now it's only 90 days. So instead of January 1 now, it's back to December. Okay. Fine. That fixes, I guess, the problem. So what's basically happened in my estimation is the government what's that saying? Give them an inch, they take a mile. They've taken a mile and they've given us back an inch as landlords. That's the way I am. I'm a landlord. I'm a landlord of multiple units. And I do not like the rights over my property being taken away. That being said, at least this does fix part of the problem, which is great. The problem that was just created 2 weeks ago. And they brought this out, and it's going to be effective here within the next few days because it was such a problem. But what this does not do, what they have not addressed in this change, is if you want to move into your own property. So let's say in this case, I'm a retiree. I bought an investment condo ages ago, 20 years ago. I've got a tenant in there. They've had tenants roll over, whatever. And now it's time for me to sell my home. And I'm going to go move to, I bought this in Campbell River, this investment property. And one day I'm going to retire to Campbell River. Cool. Well, now I have to give that tenant that I'm going to move into 4 months notice. But what is not being said is what happens now to my current home that I'm selling, because I'm downsizing. So do I now have to move into that home in Campbell River before I sell my home, after I sell my home? If it's before I sell my home that I have to serve the notice, do I get in trouble if my home doesn't sell fast enough? If I do sell my home and then deliver the notice, there's no way the buyer is going to give me a 4.5, 5 month completion unless I'm selling to a developer. So it's just created all of this, or it hasn't fixed any of the problem of why a lot of people move into those properties for their own use, the problem that was created by the NDP just recently. They also did backtrack and said, okay, so let's say, for instance, you were a tenant and you needed to dispute this because you know what? I don't believe that the owner's moving in for himself. I believe they just want higher rent and I've been wrongfully evicted. Well, you used to have 15 days to dispute that. Now, or at one point it went up to 30 days. Now, I don't know why you would need the extra time. If you thought you were wrongfully evicted, I don't know what information you're going to get that will help your case in 30 days rather than 15. But they have also reduced that back down to 21 days now. So 3 weeks to dispute. Not really a big deal there, I guess. I mean, if you're going to dispute also, that's going to slow down the whole process. You may not be able to close. Another big issue that we're seeing. Something that went under the radar on this whole thing. Not that this didn't all go under the radar, because the announcement was we have a portal and the portal will help everyone understand better how to evict people and what the tenant's rights are and what the landlord's rights are, even though there's no landlord's rights on the notice. There's this portal, and then below that was this announcement about 4 months and now 3 months and sometimes 4 months, which is even worse, by the way, for the tenant. What do you mean? I thought it was 4 months. Now it's 3 months if it goes to this guy, but if the owner wants to occupy, it's 4 months. Like, it's confusing. But in that notice, in that portal, there was something else that came out, and that something else is, get this, you sell your property to another buyer. That buyer says, okay, I'm going to buy that investment property from you, and I'm going to move into it myself. I now, as the landlord, when serving notice, have to provide the tenant with my contract of purchase and sale in regards to the terms and benefits of selling my property to somebody else. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Now, there is some rumblings out there, that this part has been removed because they also understand the crazy unreal privacy concerns. But I haven't seen that yet. I can't find it. Because these new rules, these new rules, let's call it double new rules, because they're not in effect yet, they're not currently on the government's website. So, and the announcements are very sparse, because when they do something to save a tenant, everything is big news. When they do something to go, oh crap, we just screwed up so far, and this actually benefits landlords again, even though it doesn't benefit them as much as the rights they just had 30 days ago. Quiet. And then again, my question comes. Now let's go back to my example for a second. In the event that I sell my own home, and now I'm moving into my investment property, that still qualifies as 4 months, not 3. So now I probably am going to sell in 2 months. I don't understand why people that are capable of selling their property can move in 2 months, but a tenant can't move in 2 months. I don't understand why that is possible. But now I need to find somewhere in the interim. So my closing's probably going to be 60 to 90 days. And now I have at least 120 days plus whatever's the remainder of this month to get into my next property. So I am now homeless unless I can negotiate a long close. And if I negotiate a long close, the buyer can't guarantee their financing. It's risky. Why is it this way? I do not know. It's very, very frustrating. It's better. I'm going to say it's better. They realize that, hey, if we do this thing for purchases, if we do this 4-month craziness for evictions for purchases, that it grenades the entire market because no buyer can safely secure financing, so they backtrack slightly. I still think it's ridiculous. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to recap this because I do see one question in there. If you do have any questions about the market, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what the market's doing. I want you to type them in there, trying to interact. I'm trying to do one of these lives about once a month to try and get a little bit of interaction here with the folks, a little bit of the audience. Ask your questions, but let me recap this again real quick. Previously, just this summer, it was 60 days notice plus the remainder of the month, plus 1 month's free rent, which is still there, to any tenant if you were occupying the property yourself as the landlord again, or if you were selling the property. The NDP changed that to double the amount of time, 4 months, a third of a year, to find new accommodation for the tenants, which frustrates the whole transaction financially from the banks. And now the change is that they have backtracked. They have said, okay, that's still the case, but if you're selling the property to a first-time buyer, to an owner-occupier, that's it. You can you can cut it back to 90 days. To me, absolutely insanity. Still better, I guess, than it was before, but that's how government works. Government takes a little bit more power, a little bit more power, a little bit more power, and then when they go too far, they go, okay, we'll give you that little bit back, and then they keep just taking more power. So is what it is. That being said, I will stop ranting about that. I want to update you exactly what's happening out there in the marketplace right now. Surprisingly, a flurry in the marketplace. Surprising. I just actually spoke to multiple realtors just before this call, doing different deals, negotiating different things, just checking in with friends even. And everybody is surprised. Everybody is surprised with the amount of activity that is happening out there on their listings, as am I. I got some great offers this week. We have open offers that are hopefully getting subject removal anytime between now and 5-6 days from now. We are seeing a whole lot more activity than we were in July. July was, even though our month was great, we managed to get a bunch of sales done. The numbers were not fantastic. And why aren't the numbers fantastic? Well, sellers aren't getting the prices that they wanted, and buyers just are holding off. Buyers are picky right now, and they can be picky. They should be picky. Right now, what we're noticing when we go on like a tour. So if we're showing you property as a buyer, we're probably going to see 4, 5, 6 houses this, Saturday, maybe 4. She's probably right. We're going into them and the buyers are just not happy with what they're seeing. And the places are filthy. Again, they could be tenanted, which always tend to show poorly. But the sellers just, a lot of the time, they've gotten away with selling such dirty, unkept properties for so long that they're just not getting away with it anymore. We're seeing just a crazy whack of those type of properties out there. So that's going to slow people down. Buyers, when there's not a ton of them in the first place, because there's not, money's expensive. They're just not offering what sellers are demanding, and prices will be sticky going down. That's where I think we're at. I think we're going to see sticky prices going down because a lot of buyers are not, a lot of sellers are not in the need of having to sell. They just want to sell. And if the buyers aren't willing to pay the sellers, that's where we sit. I guess I can also maybe pop in here. Let me see if I can do this. This is why I hate live streams, because I got to try and figure it out on the fly. I'll pop in here and show you what some stats in Surrey have been doing, because I did not do my stats video this week because I was on vacation. Okay, here we go. You're starting now to see, this is the city of Surrey combined. That means the actual city of Surrey excluding White Rock, and all property types, attached and detached residential. That's this graph here. And we're starting to see the benchmark pricing scale off. Now, if I could actually break these out, and you can see the difference between the asset classes. Townhouses appear to be actually peeling off a little bit more than everybody else, which is crazy because townhouses are actually pretty good right now. So we're starting to see that trend, but here's where I'm warning people. When you look at median and average, now I don't like median and average because they're very jerky numbers. They go up and down very quickly. But when you're looking at median and average, see what I mean? Like, does anybody believe that detached houses are going up right now? I don't. I do believe they're going down right now. Condos, definitely. Let's go all property types again. And I'm just going to look at the entire Fraser Valley because it reflects better of what the market's doing. You're starting to see that downward kind of trend, right? And you're seeing it in median as well. But in HPI, you're flattening out. That's because, well, HPI is not as jerky, let's call it. Now that was detached. Let's look at all property types. You're seeing that downward trend. So here's what I like to look at. See how HPI rises and then comes off slowly and then rises and comes off slowly. Median is much more jerky. Way up, way fast, way down, way fast. Way up, way fast, way down, way fast. So when median starts dipping and average starts dipping, you're going to see benchmark start dipping, depending on how long that takes. Number of sales, obviously dipping. Number of new listings, not crazy high. Let's go out a little further so you can kind of see where we are. It's a lot. It's not crazy high. We've seen a lot more in the past. Active listings is the big one, though. Oh, I have a question, finally. Oh, hi, Andy. How you doing? How do you access these charts? Get your real estate license. That's how you access these charts. These are by realtors for realtors, provided by the MLS. So you're going to see that active listings. So when you have sales tail off and active listings continue to rise, which they kind of turned back up again just in July, you're going to have inventory stacking up. Now, again, it's not a crazy amount of inventory. It's just a lot of inventory for what we've seen for the past 10 years. It's actually 6,800, 6,839 in 2019. People don't remember 2019 was not a great market. And then 2014 was basically the last time we saw this much inventory. It's going to continue. I think it's going to continue for a bit. We're going to see prices decline. Sales to active ratio, 16%. Anything, let's call it below 20% is a buyer's-ish market. That's right around there. Percentage of list price, I don't really care about. Price per square foot. Days on market and is trending up. I don't really view days on market being at 28 to be horrible. Again, I got licensed back in 2008, where the average property took 2.5 months to sell, and that's the ones that sold, not the ones that didn't sell. So places further away from Abbotsford, like further away from Vancouver, like Chilliwack and Abbotsford, would be cheaper now. Should I wait to see what offers I could get? Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'll show you the numbers. Why not? Let's look at Vancouver. Let's just grab Vancouver. Let's grab Abbotsford. And let's grab Chilliwack. Which area in Chilliwack? Are they going to give me all of Chilliwack? No, just Chilliwack East. Close enough. Oh, Chilliwack doesn't do HPIs. Of course not. Chilliwack's a different board. Let's do medians. Average. Let's do average. Oh, that's only Chilliwack East. That's the problem. See, doing this on the fly. Chilliwack's a different board. Let's focus on Abbotsford. Chilliwack sucks. Sorry, Chilliwack. There's your kind of price changes. So this is Vancouver. And as you can see, Abbotsford is the red line. Abbotsford had a way crazier swing. People don't realize that, when we went through that COVID thing, sure, Vancouver came up, but it definitely did not come up like Abbotsford. Abbotsford went from pre-COVID 749. It doubled. It literally doubled. And Vancouver went up, 600 grand from 2 million. So it does, 30%. So 100% in Abbotsford, 30% in Vancouver. So it was not nearly as wild a swing. And then when you actually see that detached market there for Vancouver, 2.671 in July 2016. June of this year is the first time that Vancouver detached peaked in 8 years. People don't realize that. They think, oh, peak of the market. No. Vancouver detached peaked almost 10 years ago. So something to consider. Look at that big rundown in Vancouver detached. Let's get back to a question here. I feel a lot of buyers are sitting on the sidelines waiting to pounce. Maybe. It will frenzy again after 2026, very possibly, when mortgages have renewed. So, interesting thing. People who bought in 2023, 2024 got lucky. I do think you're going to look at the end of this year probably again as another lucky year. You always will if it goes far enough on. Here's the thing that's going on right now. We're seeing rates. I guess I'll get out of this, I guess. We're seeing rates drop faster than previously predicted. And I think we're going to continue to see that. Here's what I don't think that is. That is not the savior that every real estate agent on Instagram and TikTok wants you to believe. It's not the savior. It's not like rates come down and people just party and start spending money again. Rates come down because the economy is not good. The economy is not good. People start losing jobs. That sort of thing. So the people with what I call jobs, people with essential work, nurses, police officers, people that maybe work at the bank, real, just regular jobs. You work at a lawyer's office. Those people are going to be fine. They're not going to notice anything. They're going to go, oh, thank goodness I don't have that 6.5% rate from last September. Now I'm going to renew at 4.5%. I'm happy. And those people will go along fine. But other people, car sales, middle managers at big banks when they start cleaning house, middle managers at telecom companies when they start cleaning house, those are the folks that'll be, they're going to notice, and they might get hurt, and they're for sure going to get crushed. So if rates are too high, but rates are coming down. We're starting to see already mid to low 4 3-year fixed rates, and we're starting to see, I just saw, I think Merrick's Financial has a 4.79 5-year fixed rate right now. These are all well below stress test levels. So those people, if we had to renew, if everybody from 1% had to renew at 6.5% where we were a year ago, I think we'd be in real trouble, like real trouble. But now that rates are coming down below 5 again, everybody's stress tested between 4.75 if it was a long time ago, and then 5.25 if it was in the last couple of years. All those people, the rates they're getting are all well below that now. I believe they're going to be fine as long as they keep their jobs. So I don't want you to think that the savior is those low rates and people are going to jump back in. I really don't think it's going to be like that. It's not like people are salivating on the sidelines. It's more like, let me know when it's okay. It's more like that, right? That's what it feels like. That being said, when it does come back, it's going to come back bigger and greater and faster than all the YouTube doom and gloomers want you to believe. And of course, things will take off. So absolutely, if you're watching this channel, hopefully you're familiar with the podcast channel, The Tom Story Show. We had on BMO's chief economist, I guess you would call him, Doug Porter. And I was shocked to hear him say it, but his comments proving true. He says actually 2024 is going to be the problem year. We had him on earlier in the spring. He's like, 2024 is the year we need to get through with these high rates and renewals that are coming up now, because in 25, 26, we actually have our charts with significantly lower rates, and those people will be fine. So it's the people that bought in 22, right at the peak, that took a 3-year, those people might be in trouble. But again, they don't actually renew until next February. And if they bought in February, they probably move in March, April, May. So what are rates in May? That's where those people, and then most of those people, thankfully, were on 5-year fixed. A lot of those people were on 5-year fixed. So they're at like 189 or 149 for 5 years. So they haven't seen the pain yet. I don't think they will see the pain unless they got way too big of a mortgage in the first place. But all those people that did, all those people that got stress tested there, they were stress tested at 5.25 or higher, even if they got 1.5%. So I think relatively they're going to be off to, they're going to be fine, generally speaking. It's the people renewing right now that weren't paying attention. Those are the people I'm a little bit worried about. It's the people right now that are still floating on those variables, even though they got a little bit of relief and they had an investment property and they've been feeding it $2,000 a month. Those are the folks that are going to be in trouble. Specifically with these new tenancy rules, when no buyers want to buy tenanted properties. If you missed it, hopefully when this comes back on replay, you can go back and learn all about tenancy and the craziness that is in BC. Let's get back to a couple things here. Off topic, but have you resource for checking potential tenant credit scores? Previously got tenants sent me a copy of the score. Okay, so man, I should probably read this properly. Hey, it's very small on my screen over there. Okay, so I did have I used a service called tenantscore.ca. They have since gone out of business because apparently the Credit bureaus charge way more than they used to. I guess there's inflation at the credit bureau. So they went out of business. They couldn't really charge what they needed to charge. But there are many places, many places that you can go to now to check credit. Never accept your tenant supplying you with the credit. You have to run the credit. In order to run the credit, you need their written permission, not just a yes, okay. You need their written permission. So there are companies out there. I actually just filled one of my tenanted properties, and then got tenantscore.ca emailed me right after and said, hey, just so you know, that was our last transaction because we're out of business. So I do have to find a new one. I think rentals.ca, who, again, we had Max on from rentals.ca on the podcast. I think they actually have a service. But definitely take an application, a written application. You need, I believe, their address, full name, I believe SIN number, date of birth. Maybe not SIN number. I can't remember offhand. And written permission, and keep track of that written permission, and run their credit. Could you possibly log into Equifax yourself, or have them log into Equifax in front of you and do it that way? Probably. But I think it was like $60 or $70 every time I ran credit. It wasn't crazy, and it was worth every penny, because let me tell you what, a tenant with an 800 credit score is a great tenant, period. And never accept anybody with under a 650. That's me. I understand lots of tenants have under 650. And realistically, if you're not 750 or higher, you're not my tenant. So consider that. Don't forget, hey, Sneaky Pete, always a good supporter of the channel. I hope you're still here. Don't forget to like this stream. Like this stream, everybody. Give it a thumbs up. That would be great. Is it possible to sell 4 units separately if some homeowner got a permit to build it in the city of Surrey? I'm assuming if you have a so you're asking, is the property stratified? If a property's stratified, so yes, of course you can sell them separately. The thing is, there's a lot of confusion around these new small home zoning. First of all, none of them are getting built. But when they do come, when they do get built, there's going to be different things to consider. There's going to be, is it stratified? Is it apartment block under one title? Or did the developer, when they built it, did they cut it up into 4 separate little townhomes, basically? It's just how many titles are there. That's basically what they have to do. So I do think you will see that. The minister, again, when we had him on the podcast, Ravi Kahlon, he said, we're not going to make rules around that. If you want to stratify it, figure it out. If you want to sell them off as individual units, if you want to own a mini apartment block on your own, great. They're not going to make rules around that. What I am seeing different, though, in the small home zoning, if you want to call it that, is people don't understand when you're building these 4 units on just a 6,000 square foot, 7,000 square foot, 3,000 square foot, if you can believe it, lot. You're not building what we refer to in Surrey kind of as the mega house, or some people call it the McMansion. You're not building the McMansion on top and then 3 basement suites. It's usually not what it is. What you're looking at, of course, my phone's buzzing. What you're looking at is they want smaller homes to fit kind of more equally, if that makes sense. So you're not going to end up with a 4,000 square foot home and 3 700 square foot or 500 square foot suites downstairs. It's not what you're going to end up with. And I think that's what everybody was kind of hoping for. What they want is 4 1,800 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath mini townhomes. That's the type of thing they're wanting you to build. And if you look at, I went through the city of Surrey's plan for small house zoning, small multi-house zoning, or whatever they're calling it. It's become very evident that that's what they're looking for. There's 1,000 million, trillion, billion different options. I couldn't understand what they were 6 plexes here and this type there? And do you want 2 duplexes? Do you want a 4-plex building? Do you want to maximize square footage? Do you want all separate units? Like there's so much going on there. But one thing they're not advertising is like one big house, basement suite helpers. They're not doing that. Here's what I think is going to happen though. I think what you're going to get built is 4 mini houses on a lot. So let's say you had a house, I'm thinking like mine, family of 4, somebody in the basement suite, 5 or 6 people living in the home, 3 cars. Now you're going to go to 3 bed, 3 bed, 3 bed, 3 bed. So now you have 4 families. And if I know folks in Surrey, each one of those places is going to figure out how to have a basement suite in it. So now you're probably going to have 4 families plus 4 singles or couples or maybe even more families. You're going to go to like 8 families on a 5,000 square foot lot. Parking's going to be fun. Parking's going to be super fun. Okay, let me see if I can read some of these in English. Try not to be here too long. It is Friday. Going to jiu-jitsu class tonight. Is it better only to look at buying houses built in the last 10 years? I would say no. As older homes might have lots of maintenance. They might be built better too. Older homes offer more square foot in the yard. Yeah. Okay, so which is better? Which is better is your preference. Do you like newer and smaller? Newer usually means, unless your budget's big, usually means smaller lot. The actual house itself will actually be bigger. So in our marketplace, you'll get a 2-story with a basement, 2,700 square foot home on a 2,500 square foot lot. Like there's inches down the side between the houses. So it's a lifestyle thing. That's what it is. If you value the yard, if you value parking, if you have an RV, if you want a garden, and you want to live in an older home, that's fine. I would never let the maintenance of an older home get in the way unless we're talking like really, really old, like cinder block foundation, 1930s type stuff. For us, I would never hop on it. But that being said, I'm amazed. Like I was just on a trip driving up through the interior of BC, and like we live in mansions in the Lower Mainland. Even our crappy small houses are mansions compared to where most of the province lives. That being also said, I guess there is, I do see, especially people new to Canada, they have a very big bias towards newer homes. And if they're looking at condos, they have a very big bias towards concrete, which I think is terrible. I mean, not terrible. That's the wrong word. I would avoid a concrete construction myself because I think wood frame construction is nicer to live in. It's all preference. It's all preference. The problem, I guess, with older homes is there value in renovating them to the level you want to live in, or is it just a tear down? Like in my market in Surrey, in Langley, Delta, you're seeing houses built in 1995 that are getting torn down now to build a new, bigger home. It's crazy to me. You go back to Toronto, and every house in the city of Toronto seems to be 120 years old. They're not getting torn down. So unless it's for a skyscraper of some sort. Don't think rates will matter. 2% versus 5%. When you get laid off and have zero income. No doubt. Thanks a lot. Yeah, if you have layoffs, you're going to have trouble, guys. That's the way it goes. Okay. I see this. Nux 4 Cup. Good luck. Keep waiting. I appreciate seeing you on the channels all the time, though. Parking's not going to be the issue. It's water, sewage, electricity, all that stuff. That I agree with. That I 100% agree with. That's actually what's happening in a lot of these cities. So even though the cities have passed the bylaws, I heard this in Langley, I want to say township, but it might be the city. Somebody went to the city, and the city's got these new bylaws, and you can build 4 units. And then they go to apply to build 4 units, and they're like, cool, there's not enough electricity to the house, and the sewage pipe isn't big enough to take all the crap out for the 5 families that are now going to be living there. So no, we're not going to approve your deal. That's it. Done. So are they happening? Are they getting done? West Vancouver, fought the province pretty hard. It's kind of crazy. I don't know how, so here's something totally side note. Let's sidebar this for a second. The premiers, is getting political. The premiers just all got together, banded together, and told Justin Trudeau to stay out of provincial politics. Stay out of provincial jurisdiction. Don't talk about housing. It's not your deal. Don't talk about healthcare, dental, all this stuff. It's not your deal. It is a provincial problem. It is a provincial jurisdiction. And then the BC NDP, within a week of that, mandated that West Vancouver has to change their municipal building codes. Hypocritical? I think so. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I'm really, really, really tempted to see when these fourplexes actually start, because I haven't seen a single one start yet. Obviously, I'm not in the applications phase. I'm not. I don't work with builders generally. I don't work with a ton of investors. I'm more of a homeowner occupier, so I'll see them once they're built and people move in. I will say there is similar styles of those properties already built in some areas, but they're stratified. So there's stuff going on there. What I'm a little bit worried about is these row homes that don't have a strata fee. They're still technically strata properties. They're still a strata. So I was thinking about some on, I think it's 72nd Avenue in Langley. They've got these swooping roof lines that they swoop from your roof over to your neighbor's roof on the other side. When that roof comes up in 15 years, where do you stop shingling with no strata fee, with no organized strata? It's crazy stuff. I think there's going to be real problems in the future with neighbors and whatnot. If I bought a house with an illegal suite, would I get in trouble later down the road for the previous owner's mistakes? Now, there is an interesting thing. Is it a previous owner's mistake? That's another question. Here is something, I don't know. I guess a lot of agents probably shouldn't talk publicly about this, is what I'm thinking. But at the same time, it's a reality of the market, so screw it. Let's go. Illegal suites. There's a difference between an unauthorized accommodation, an authorized accommodation, and a legal suite. Those are the three different. Unauthorized accommodation means nobody is aware. There's no permits taken. The city doesn't know it's there. There's no taxes being paid on it. All that stuff. Authorized in some cities, some municipalities. But I mean, I guess authorized isn't the right word. Registered. Let's use the word registered. In the city of Surrey, for instance, you can register an illegal suite, and the city does not require you currently to legalize it. They will just accept the bribe or the taxes, let's call it. And then you have legal, which is fully legal. You're paying taxes on it, and it's with permits and everything else. So those are the three kind of levels. It depends on the city is the first thing I'm going to say. So if you live in Surrey, honestly, it's kind of the Wild West. Chilliwack, you can get away with a lot. Abbotsford's a little tighter. Langley City, Maple Ridge, if you have an unauthorized accommodation, the city may hunt you down and make you legalize it, and it might cost you a ton of money. Now, has that backed off in reality? That's the policy. Has that backed off in reality due to the housing crisis? Yes, because the cities and the township and everybody else doesn't really want to be kicking tenants out in the middle of a housing crisis. So that being said, okay, now let's talk about buying one. It must be disclosed as a material latent defect. This is the part that most agents I come across fail to understand and know. There's something called a property disclosure statement or a material latent defect form that you have to provide to a buyer prior to writing an offer. And as long as you tell them there's a defect with the property, in this case, a suite done without a permit, they can still buy the property. Whether or not the city comes back later on, you just have to notify them as the seller. So I would say it really does depend on the city that you're in. But there's also another few bylaws. Most cities have a bylaw that say if you're renting out a basement suite, you as the owner have to live upstairs. So Langley has that bylaw. If you cannot buy a house even with a legal suite in Langley, at least last time I checked the law, and rent out both, you have to own or occupy upstairs and then rent out the basement suite. So that being said, I think all of this is getting ignored. Everybody's like, I'm not watching because of the housing crisis. If housing slows down the other way and cities want to go collect their tax, one thing I know about the city of Surrey right now is they are going after unregistered suites. They're knocking on doors and they are saying, hey, do you have a suite? And people are like, yes or no. And then they apply a tax. They want that tax. They don't care if you legalize it. Crazy, but that's the way it is. Thanks. You're welcome. How will we weather the Toronto condo market storm? I have no idea because I'm not in Toronto. Build nice units, maybe. My thought is for all density is just build low rises more spread out and stop building 75 stories that take 10 years. Okay, this is interesting. What do you think of buying your property investment under a corporation versus your personal name? Tax advantages, those are gone. Exit the portfolio, capital gains, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is happening quite a bit lately. I've got clients that are buying them in corporations. I've got buying that are not. First thing you need to know is that if you own 5 properties, period, even if they're all paid off, your 6th property, the banks will not lend you a mortgage on. You are too high risk, even if you own them outright. So that's why if you own more properties, it might be a good idea to put them in a corporation. That's number one. Number two, there's all these guys that are watching US YouTube videos, learning how to invest in real estate, and they want to put their properties in LLCs. We don't have LLCs in Canada. We have corporations. So they want to limit their liability because in the States, you sue everybody for getting looked at wrong. Here, we don't have that issue. So then you look at it and go, okay, well, if I don't have as much liability issue, it must be a tax savings. The Tom Story Show, I'm plugging it like crazy here. Go back and watch it. We just had Jimmy Latang on, a CPA, and he said tax is not the right reason to put your investment properties in a corporation because you get higher taxed on corporate investments than you do on personal investments. There's lots of exemptions for personal tax relief, I guess you would call it, in your personal name, and there's not. So for instance, capital gains is 66% inclusion as soon as you own it. Any raise that you get in a corporation's name, if you own it in a corporation's name, 66% inclusion on the first dollar, as opposed to, for instance, my investment property that I own with my wife in our personal names, we would have to gain $500,000 because we're splitting it 50-50 on the gain. The property would have to go up $500,000 before we went from 50% inclusion to 66% inclusion. So here's my thought. My general advice would be I would carry an investment property right now in my personal name in BC, and I would do that if I did not intend to own more than, say, 3 or 4 in the future. There has to be another reason other than taxation to hold it in the corporate name. And it's also extremely hard to finance a property in a corporation or a holdco. It's a lot harder than people think. If there's no assets in the holdco, people are like, oh, well, it's limited liability. If the whole thing goes to crap, then I'll just walk away from it and fold the corporation. No, that corporation's backed up with a promissory note. So you're still going bankrupt if the whole thing goes bankrupt. There's just too much there. Personally, I would say if you're only going to hold one investment property or 2 over your lifetime, put it in your personal name, probably have it with your spouse, split the capital gain, and you'll likely be better off. Probably. tax-wise. Other reasons, if there's another reason, go ahead. Unpopular opinion. Those are usually the most popular ones. Let's find out. We should tax capital gains on primary residence. Unpopular. But like the U.S. Yeah, so the U.S. has all sorts of different rules where... So here is the thing. With that comment, yes. And this I think just has to go with it. It's not like there's a capital gain. If they ever capital gain tax your principal residence, if you're taxed on something, you get the write-off of the interest. So in the States, they don't want to pay off. They take those 30-year mortgages and they don't ever want to pay that off because every single year, the interest that you pay on your own principal residence, because there's a capital gain at the end, is a write-off. So there is a tax benefit that outweighs there, or that can change there, I guess. And then there's also portions there where it's like the first how many 100,000 you make is capital gains exempt, and then onwards from there. I think if you put a capital gain on Canadians on their principal residence, you are shifting the game board way more. You're changing the rules in the middle of the game. Let's put it that way. That's kind of the way I think about it. I just don't know. I couldn't see it being a good thing. Let's put it that way. I couldn't see it being a good thing. So many people are counting on that. So many people have paid off their homes. For example, what if I did buy my home for $50,000 in 1980 and that thing is worth $1.7 million now, and I'm a little old lady and I sell it and I have a capital gain of $1.6 million in a given year, and the government wants $750,000 of that. It's pretty screwed up. No write-offs for her. It's pretty messed up. Is it possible to stratify an existing building? Absolutely. I've seen it done. There was a purpose rental building in South Surrey, White Rock, a client of mine was living in. The rental company sold it to a private investor. The private investor then stratified the units, offered them to sale to the individuals who are currently renting them, by the way, of which my clients bowed out of because they were like, maintenance here isn't good enough, so I'm not buying this piece of crap that the rental company hasn't taken care of for so many years. But I guess there were some people that did buy them, and they were sold off individual units. So the investor, that was a weird play because the investor bought the rental building and then immediately sold the units. So I would love to see how that was financed and how those numbers made sense. For your info, investing in the U.S. housing would be better or easier in Canada. U.S. housing versus Canadian housing. The U.S. housing is, my understanding, I've never done it. I've looked at it in the past. I've never done it. I would never buy in the U.S. just because tenants and issues, and getting a mortgage down there is not easy as a Canadian. There's all sorts of different things. I just don't see it. The U.S. is so spread out that they don't have the hyper. That's what's causing you. If you think about it, that's what causes a lot of our price increase here. Is we've just got these hyper focused populations in such small areas. And I think that's actually a good thing if you're looking to invest and you're looking for growth in the future. It's the reality of it. And you might not like it, but it's a reality of it. Very good possibility that, being so spread out, you're not going to see the appreciation in the States. You can use your LLP, LLC to invest in as a Canadian in the U.S. Sure. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I would find Here's the one thing I hate that gets lost about investing in the U.S. Everybody's like, oh, the real estate's so cheap down there. It's only $750,000 down there for that place, and it's $1.1 million here. And then you do the currency conversion, and you're like, oh, wait, that's the same number, right? I'm going to wrap up here within the next 5 minutes. I won't keep blabbering, but there's a bunch of people on. There's a whole bunch of folks on right now. So if you have any questions, get them in. Just to recap what I said way back almost an hour ago at the beginning, BC has pulled back on their notice, on their crazy 4-month notice. If you're selling your property, they got rid of the nasty 4-month eviction period that totally would grenade the market, and they've rolled it back, thankfully, to only 3 months, which isn't much better. You still have to apparently supply your contract of purchase and sale to your tenant, of which they are not a party to the transaction. They have no business knowing. I'm going to see if that gets overturned or not. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy out there. The market seems to be humming along nicer than it was previously. I think, I guess in closing, I'll let you know that any seller that I think is waiting for higher prices in September or waiting till next spring, I think you're going to be, in shock. You're not going to necessarily get them. Here's my hope. I'm going to show you this chart again real quick. Here's my hope when we go into the Fraser Valley. Let's just go back again. I just hope this flattening continues, to tell you the truth. When I remember being in the marketplace, so I got licensed here, and then I went full-time here, so I went part-time for a year first. And then this was just like, there was an increase, but it was very flat. You could look at a home and be like, I know what that home is worth. I can tell my client what to expect. There wasn't this rapid, crazy appreciation. There's only a difference between maybe $50,000 to $80,000, not even 10% over 5 years. Like, that was really nice, to tell you the truth. It was a nice market to be in. And I just wish that that's kind of what we do. Like, if we could hover around this and not change a lot. Let's take a look at it a little closer. If this could really flatten out for a while, I think everybody would enjoy that, because it would just make it a lot easier for everybody. I just think it would make it... The problem in the marketplace is not necessarily the cost. It's understanding or having an expectation of what the cost might be, where the value is, all of these different things. So, I mean, I would love to see that iron out. Sorry, last one. This will be the absolute last one. So is it possible to build 4 different houses in one lot? Not 4 fourplexes, but you can build 4 different houses on one lot and stratify after. Again, the stratify is the same sort of thing. I believe you can. Stratify them all. So for instance, the plans that I've seen have been a few. Picture a rectangle lot, 60 by 120, 7,200 square foot lots, a standard lot here. Picture 2 houses in the front corner with a driveway down the middle, and 2 houses in the back corner. And then they each have a single car garage, 3 bedrooms on a top floor, a little living space on the main. They're all 1,200 square feet maybe on the 2 different floors. So they're not big houses. I think that's kind of the big thing. And then sell them off. I think you can. Here's the kicker. You get the smaller square footage that way. So if you build one big house or one big structure in the middle and just have shared walls, you'll get more square footage. But when you think about a foundation that you pour, like your cost of construction of 4 different houses on 2 stories is a lot more than if you build just a block. Even if the square footage is greater, you don't have all of that siding all the way around the outside, right? You don't have all of the concrete all the way around the outside. So personally, I think what we're going to get is, if you know what a Surrey style or I guess townhouse is, a tandem style townhouse, I think you're going to get 3 or 4 tandem style townhouses put on a lot, and that's going to be that. Probably the easiest type of thing. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. Like, subscribe, share, if that's a thing. Is that a thing on YouTube? I don't know. Enjoy. Things got a little bit better compared to where they were for landlords out there, but they're definitely not as fantastic as they were a month or 2 ago. Have a great weekend.